Hello and welcome to our next episode of Shipwrecked EDC. Episode 1 was the thing that got me into this whole venture. That was a Q3D bolt action Atlantis. Next up, we have a new delivery. We're going to be opening this package with our good friend, my Spidey Chef. Now, there's a good reason that I'm choosing this knife, and that is because we're going to be opening another SpyderCo. And if you clicked on this, you already know what we're about right now. We're building a Shipwrecked EDC. So this is going to be a Shipwrecked knife. Ended up using the other knife anyway, so just happened to be handy. Let's keep going. I should mention, this particular design is considered one of the safest designs here with this lockback feature, but it's not really easy to use one-handed. The lock bar design here is much more intuitive, but then again, your finger crosses into the path. So two different designs, two different uses, two different, ups and downs with those different models. But today, we have got a custom-built SpyderCo Manix. Now this is going to be a beautiful thing. It is a Manix II. That's the S110V is the steel. Let's take a look within. Now this was completely modded, so all the original parts came with it. And so that's all of this stuff. This is the original G10. There you go. This is the original blue G10 handles it came with. And these are some of the other different original components because they've been replaced and upgraded. Now let's take a look. This thing is weighty. Again, it's copper, so this thing has a lot of heft to it. That is quite stunning, quite gorgeous. I'm going to have to bring this out to the sunlight so you can see it in its fullest, but that is a wonderful Shipwrecked patina. This has the full steel mod, so all of the original parts have been replaced with steel, so that adds a little bit more heft too. Now this actually uses a licensed Benchmade mechanism here, so you can actually drop that down, and that's actually very nicely done. When you have these Benchmade mechanisms, you really want them tuned, so when you hold it like that and you pull it back, it should do exactly that. Flip right about to 90 degrees, nice and easy. And so that is a well-tuned knife from a customizer, so we can tell, right? It should be beautifully centered. Yeah, all right. That's cool. And check out the back is even more beautiful on the Shipwrecked side. But again, this will only get better with time. So these accents will grow, eventually more patina and hopefully some greens and blues will grow in here too, especially as that's kind of where you're rubbing a lot with your thumb, right? One of the cool things about a SpyderCo, as everyone knows, is what they call this kind of Spidey hole, this big accent, right? It's kind of their design aesthetic. There's always that big hole there, and ostensibly, it's really just for your thumb to use, but a lot of people actually use that hole for the inverse, and they use what's called the Spidey flick, and that's kind of when you flick it out like that. This one seems less easy to actually Spidey flick. I'm gonna have to play with it because of the heft. You can still do it, but because of the heft down below with the copper and the steel, and then this mechanism here actually imparting some pressure. When you're not pulling down on it, right? If you pull down on that mechanism, it hangs freely, but if you don't, right, it stays where it is. Because of that, this model is not quite as easy to Spidey flick, but you can still do it. I just have to play around with it more and be a little bit more intentional. I do really, really love that they added a spot where I can choke up on. I love it when any blade has that choil where I can kind of, choke up on a blade. I really appreciate that. This S110V steel is great for what I plan on using it, which is not super hard use. So I will, keep that edge a little bit longer. If you are intending a hard use blade, the steel might not be the best option because even though it does hold an edge longer and better, it is a little bit more prone to chipping, which also makes it a little bit more difficult to sharpen too. So. Well, first impressions. This thing is beautiful, it's fidgety, and it's very fun to play with. It is exceptionally stout and kind of heavy because of its steel upgrades and the fact that its body plates are copper. So this thing is probably, I would say, among my heaviest knives. So it will definitely be very, in my pocket, so to speak. I will definitely know I'm carrying this knife more so than some of my others. But this is a beautiful and welcomed addition to our Shipwrecked EDC. One of the nice things about SpyderCo is they are made in the USA. So if you're looking to support local, this is one of the better brands to go with. For size comparisons, I don't have all that many actual common knives. I try and steer toward more kind of atypical knives. So even my Benchmade here is a Super Freak decked out with, all red hardware. So even that, it's not like a bug out, you know what I mean? It's not like the thing that everybody has. So I don't have exactly great things to compare this to size-wise, except maybe that Spidey Chef. I'll go ahead and get that. That Spidey Chef is probably the most common knife that's actually in my collection, so you can definitely get a feel for the Manix there, and the blade shape and the handle, and again, it is weightier than the other two options, but it's going to be a really cool addition, especially for this EDC we're building. Here we are out by, my wife's gardens, but let's see if we can get you some of those colors. Yeah. Look at those greens and blues that come out better in the sunlight. Shipwrecked is the way to go for copper. How cool would it be if I could find someone that makes a Shipwrecked clip? You can definitely still Spidey flick with it. You just need to be a little bit more intent with your flick with your wrist. And I always love that Benchmade mechanism for the clothes. It's just very fidgety, and it is, safer, they say, because it keeps your, instead of a lock bar where you have to put your finger through the path, this keeps your finger out of the path of the blade entirely. So, beautiful knife. SpyderCo Manix II. Custom steel modded with that shipwrecked copper aesthetic. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Shipwrecked EDC.